Good morning, I'm John Tenney, your host with the Florida Aviation Network here at Sun and Fun in sunny Lakeland, Florida. I have a distinct pleasure of welcoming two members of my alma mater where I learned to fly. I came up through the Civil Air Patrol, and I want to introduce Deputy National Commander General Bailey and Florida Wing Commander Colonel Panzara. Guys, welcome to the show.
Pleasure.
Is there anything you want to say first, or you just want me to dive into some questions?
John, I think you can just dive right into the questions. Good to be here.
Well, the first thing I want to know is what's going on with the cadet programs? We've been kind of focusing on that this week, is how people can get involved in aviation. And I know younger people, the cadet program has always been a good conduit. If you want to go into that a little, Colonel or General.
Glad to go into that. With Civil Air Patrol, there's a lot of opportunities for cadets. Obviously, we work towards that leadership theme for cadets. We want them to grow in their leadership skills, but we also offer them several other things. We want them to have career exploration. We want them to have aerospace education, things of that nature, not just the leadership. So we have many avenues for them. We have the weekly meetings that we work through at the local squadrons. We have activities throughout the wings at encampments and other activities that Colonel Panzara can speak to. We also have things that we do on a national level, so National Cadet Special Activities, and we have those there specifically for things like career exploration. But we also have what we call flight academies. So we have national flight academies where, speaking of your history, you may know a little bit more about those.
I know that's come in since I went through, like I said, in the private air with CAP instructors.
Oh,
I really want to hear about the flight academies, because that's new to me, and I want to gather that knowledge, and I'm sure our viewers do too. So please go into that if you can, how the flight academies work.
So we have several flight academies across the country. They're locally held within different regions, within different wings, and we have CFAs that will take their time, their volunteer time, our senior members take their time, they'll come and they'll train our cadets to work towards their private pilot certificate. Most of them will focus on having them take that written, prepare for that written. They have classroom studies that they'll do throughout the week. They have opportunities with the CFIs coming and speaking to them. Ground school instructors will take time with them. In the evenings, they'll spend time together. Towards the end of the week, what they're working towards is that solo. Not all of them get it. It's not the expectation that they're going to do that.
Yeah.
In a week, yeah, it's a lot.
But some do, though.
Some do.
Yeah.
You know, I worked on my private pilot certificate when I was in my 40s. And so I was slow. I was coming through with a lot of cadets that were working on theirs. I was taking mine at the local FBO, obviously, because the program's for cadets. So as they were working through that, some of them would come through, get their solo, and I'm watching them get it, and I'm thinking about how advanced they are for their age and things of that nature. But they really ingest this information, that digest it as well. They're able to produce a product there, get them comfortable with the aircraft. What's really nice is the Air Force helps us with that, provides funding for that, but then they also work with us, provide funding that carries us all the way through for those cadets to get through the Wings program, not only the Air Force, but also the Ray Foundation.
Private industry. Yeah.
So private industry helps us as well. And for them, they can go on and get their private pilot certificate. So where it took me an embarrassing number of hours for me to get mine.
Yeah, you won't be embarrassed at this table going on. I think I had 75. Anyway,
yeah.
Took me a while.
The program is vast, and what it does is it provides opportunities for just about anybody that comes up through this program. You'll see it too. It's really kind of funny. A lot of the times you'll see those cadets that have that spark in their eye, and they are just motivated, and they get into this. They find out about these programs, and then trust me when I tell you, they compete for this, and they compete hard, and they want to get this. So they'll get this program, and they'll be able to go fully to a private license. 465, I think we're at, 465 this year. Well, a total number of pilot licenses that have been issued as a result of the Cadet Wings program. That's astonishing. It's about a $15,000 scholarship. And these are funded things that the cadets compete for and win and be able to do. So it's really fantastic.
And the funding's not just the government. You said there's some private industries that fund it as well.
Yeah, the Ray Foundation provides some of that funding as well. So we use that funding not just for using Civil Air Patrol aircraft, but we can actually use that funding for them to take that training at the local FBO. Yes. And so a lot of our cadets not only are doing it in Civil Air Patrol planes, but some of them are doing it in local FBO planes.
Okay, I'm getting my daughter in on this. Well, actually, that's my next question. Okay, got somebody out there who's interested. I know there's somebody in the other room that's listening to you right now, my co-host from this morning.
Outstanding.
How what do they do first? They go to Go CAP Flying?
GoCivilAirPatrol.com.
GoCivilAirPatrol.com.
It's the beginning point that I'll tell to everybody. You know, I'm a wing commander here in Florida. We have 4,000 members. I'll get people very interested in hearing about Civil Air Patrol, but I'm telling you that the program is so vast and has so much to offer that I actually don't do it full enough justice. I tell them, you need to go home and go to GoCivilAirPatrol.com, one word. Okay. You do that, you're going to see the entire program. You'll learn about cadet wings. You'll learn about our leadership aspect. You'll learn about how we take a cadet that is brand new to this entire program and take them and see them all the way through to the enlisted ranks. They become a cadet officer. Do you know the cadet officer is the equivalent of Eagle Scout? And then you take it to spots, which is cadet colonel. We have a vast program that outshines many other programs in the country, in my opinion, but at the same time just provides a value to these cadets to prepare them for life as citizens of this nation. And I'm telling you, the rewards are many. We have both had just dozens and dozens of cadets get back to us. Look what I'm doing now. Here's where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. And I owe a large part of it to that foundation that was set with me, with my parents, with my school, but especially with Civil Air Patrol.
So, Colonel, in general, it's also good for not just cadets, but adults.
Oh, yeah.
Like you and I both joined as adults. I think I was in my mid-20s when I joined. But same website, right? GoCivilAirPatrol.com, and just look for adult or senior members.
So
senior member activity. There's a procedure on there, I believe, right?
Yeah.
what I would recommend is that they find a local unit. So if I can take a moment and explain what happened to me in my first visit to a meeting.
Awesome.
I had a 14-year-old daughter at the time, and I came home from work, and my wife looked me square in the eye and told me, "You're going to find a leadership program for our children." And
Yes, ma'am.
My wife, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I was a pretty busy person, but I thought, okay. So she told me about Civil Air Patrol, and she said, "This is the one I think you ought to take them to." So I walked in with my daughter, and just to explain what happened was just beyond what I expected. I had a 14-year-old young lady, about the same age as my daughter, walked straight up to my daughter, looks her in the eye, and said, "Hello," introduced herself. She was in the uniform, the ABU uniform,
ABU.
and actually it was before that, the BDU uniform.
BDU,
So she was in the BDU
I remember the
uniform.
Blotchy
BDUs,
greens.
yeah.
Everything looked just perfectly put together. She was focused on the details of her uniform. There were no cords showing, as they call it. Her boots were very well shined. Her demeanor was what I noticed, though.
Professional.
When she looked at my daughter, she looked her in the eye, she talked to her, she was shaking her hand, she was telling her about what was going to happen that evening. That professionalism got to me. When she was done telling my daughter what was going on, she reached around my daughter, shook my hand, looked me straight in the eye. Now here I am, a 40-year-old man, right, an older gentleman. She looks at me and she said, "Mr. Bailey, you don't have cadet protection, so this is what you're going to do tonight. We're going to go down the hall. You're going to fall in with the senior members. This is what they're doing." And
This
so it was
happened to be a
great.
cadet protection program going on that
Yeah.
night.
Yes. And so it was a wonderful experience for me to see that professionalism, and I thought, okay, I'm hooked. This is what we're going to do. So typically there's about 3 meetings that they expect cadets to attend.
Before they join, yeah.
And as they attend those meetings, they get to see what the flavor of that squadron is like. Because not every squadron is the same, but they get to determine whether this is a fit for them and whether the person is a fit for the squadron, right? So we have an interview board.
Of course, we've got the 3 types of squadrons. We should probably discuss that. The senior members, which are, even though they're just senior members, you are exposed to cadets. From
Yes.
time to time, we're doing cadet orientation flights.
Yes.
And
We have
so-
senior members here right now that are that very person. They're at a senior squadron, but they're coming here to Sun and Fun for the event that's here.
And then we've got the composite squadrons, which are
Yes.
seniors and cadets with
Correct.
an emphasis on working together. And then the cadet squadrons, where there's just a couple of senior members managing all the cadets. But one thing I do like is the professionalism is that there's that cadet protection program in place to make sure everything's above and aboard. Everything's done right.
Well, I could
And
not
no
speak
problems.
more emphatically to the goodness of that program. Nationally, it has served us and protected us so well because we take everybody. There's not just a level or a set of expectations. We put you through some pretty good training, and we then require that training twice annually now that you're going to go through and be reminded of, and all those little things that help us be able to protect our cadets through and through.
Yeah, I'm not current. I need to do it again.
Yeah.
No, there is an online version too, which,
There is.
Yes, there
which
is.
I'll be doing.
It's at 12 modules, and if you do 10, you're getting your credit for what you need.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to take that time. The things, the
Yes.
progression of the cadet protection program, it continues to grow every year. They're making adjustments to
Always
it.
modified.
That's why it's an annual renewal on it. Is because they want us to grow and to make sure we're taking things in consideration to protect our cadets and protect each other really too.
Yeah, seniors as well.
So there's, obviously we know there's a mission to cadet education, to bring young people into aviation, and that's one of the three main missions of CAP. I think
It is.
I'm still here on the three main missions.
You are?
The second one is emergency services.
Correct.
Yes.
And then the third one is just general education, right?
Aerospace education.
Aerospace
Aerospace
education.
education. So talk about the, we'll save the good one.
Okay.
Emergency services, because I did get a fine, so I'm kind of excited
yay.
about
All
that.
right.
Congratulations.
Let's talk about the general aviation education part.
Okay.
Tell me more, like how does that benefit the public?
You want to start?
Well, sure. It benefits the public in multiple ways. First off, it exposes cadets and senior members, really both of them, but certainly primarily focused on the cadets, to everything that is aviation. So it's all the ancillary skill sets required to maintain an airplane, fly an airplane, employ an airplane, use it for missions, use it for different things civilly, use it militarily, and nothing is held back. Every aspect of aviation and the physics that goes with it, the science that goes with it, the math that goes with it. So we have vast amounts of STEM that we now do for all of that to complement that particular portion of what it is that we teach. And we actually hand out, I don't want to know the number, you might know it, the number of STEM kits that we send out annually is in the thousands. It goes to schools, it goes to educators at schools that are not necessarily direct members of CAP, but they are aerospace educators attached to us. And then it goes to all the squadrons as well. They're learning drone technology, they're flying drones, they're taking pictures, they're learning how to do next level mission sets with us, because eventually these airplanes that we fly may be replaced almost completely by drones in the future. We don't know, but we know that that kind of technology is coming, and we're trying to advance our cadets on it as much as possible and
I
leverage
hope-
their futures.
I hope not. I liked being a mission pilot.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the third one, the emergency services. There's a whole bunch of services within the emergency services, of
correct,
course.
yeah.
But I always think of search and rescue.
Yeah.
That's sort of our shiny object, right? Is that we go out and rescue down general aviation pilots.
We
One of-
do.
One of the
Yeah.
neat things that we got to expose, sorry, General,
Yes,
one
go
of, the,
ahead.
one of the neat things we got to see, I had a friend from industry come into one of our encampments one time, and he took up an industry drone, and he showed us. It wasn't huge, it wasn't overly expensive. The drone itself was about $3,500 at the time, but he had a $13,000 add-on, and it was an IR camera. So now, imagine being in the upstate of New York, and you're out in the Adirondacks, which is miserable to go try and search with airplanes
I grew
because
up
of
there.
weather and all kinds of things. You can fly this thing in a grid pattern, and you're going to see deer, bear, but you're going to see human beings too,
lot of
because
bear.
the IR picks it up so well. And that IR could be used out over the water here in Florida when a surfer or a swimmer gets tugged out, and we're looking for them. Now we'll have eyes that can scan in that direction. So CAP is on the forefront of teaching cadets and senior members that next future operational aspect of what we will be doing. So really cool stuff.
So what's your favorite emergency services mission? General, what's yours? What's your favorite emergency service? What's the one you'd like to talk about the most?
Well, I really like to talk about when we have search and finds and things of that nature. But I will say that a lot of our meaningful missions to a lot of our members today that are recurring missions are preparing the warfighter, right? So we do things like we do our intercept missions. So we prepare them, we work with them. We're that low, slow flying aircraft that comes into an airspace that we shouldn't necessarily be in. It's all coordinated ahead of
We
time.
just
of
did it
course.
off of Mar-a-Lago recently.
go.
It's kind of cool.
Is
Intercept
this
by
the-
F-15.
Does that include the customs interdictions flights? Are you still doing those? Are they still?
believe in
or
some
is this-
locations
Am I
we
in
are.
top secret territory now?
Well, we're going to operate in a specific capacity, right? So when we
Okay.
go out and we do something like a border mission or something, we're just there to observe health and safety and things of that nature. We're not there for any of those things you might think of a border control in other ways. But when we
I won't
we do
share
things-
that story then.
Okay, so what we focus on is that preparedness, right? So when we talk about it, I like to talk about things like the intercept. I like to talk about air operations branch
Yes.
preparedness. So sometimes they'll use our aircraft to saturate an airfield that they set up temporarily somewhere for somebody that's going over to as a warfighter somewhere to set up an air operations branch somewhere, and we'll just flood that pattern so that those people get the number of approaches and things for the controllers, and we just give them experience as well. But it also helps us, our senior members, to feel like they're contributing towards that preparedness.
All right, that's a good one.
Yeah, so there's several there. I mean, of course, we're always going to have those where we talk about innovation, right? Today's the day of innovation. And so we have cell phone forensics. So where I really like to talk about as well is sometimes something that would take us hours and days to find back when I first joined Civil Air Patrol, and certainly back when you first joined Civil Air Patrol, so respectfully.
We had airplanes.
You did. They just weren't, they were member funded.
And two wings.
Yeah.
But you can imagine the difference in spooling up a team versus calling up, when AFRCC calls our cell phone forensics teams and says, hey, we have, we need you to look into this. They can track that down. They can find out in that situation when we have an issue, right? They can plot where that aircraft went down, the path it was on, the altitude it was at, and then sometimes they can make contact with them through the cell phone, and that we can find out they're safe on the ground somewhere.
We've really been able to come, the technologies have allowed us to narrow down that search area, because before, years ago, wide search patterns took a long time to do, and now we've narrowed that down, and it comes down to minutes instead of hours. And
a few years ago, I was an observer on an ELT mission, and it was somebody who didn't realize he'd landed hard and activated his ELT. He was in the hangar, and we came in and we found out he was talking on his cell phone using his Starlink.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, we need to set up some way so that can hear the ELT.
Right. Now, interesting you say that. We had a call-out mission just 2 nights ago, and I was notified. And as the wing commander, I'm always given who's the incident commander, who's looking at one. And they found an ELT that had been going off. The person didn't know, and is that classic case. But that is what we're used for. And one other thing I would like to bring up, as far as the emergency services mission and that kind of thing we do with the airplane, has to do, especially sensitive here in Florida, and the Florida Network folks would really be appreciative of this. We're called upon to go do oblique camera and Waldo camera missions that really give both the federal level and the state level, so the governor's office and the president's FEMA office, everything that they need in the detailed orientation flights that we do, that also give them high resolution pictures for both high water mark, where the storm impacted the most, what it did, what needs the most attention up front, that kind of thing. So Civil Air Patrol provides the professionals to fly the airplane, the Air Force provides the airplane, the funding is there for the fuel. So basically, it's the lowest cost option to go do an enormous amount of this kind of work. Because when you take a look at flying a Black Hawk at $8,000 to $9,000 an hour, or a C-130 upwards of $10,000 and $14,000 an hour, $200 an hour is a pretty good price. So, yeah.
And so tagging on to that mission, sometimes we have missions that are disaster relief where they need watermarks and things of that nature. Yeah. So we have our geo-reference tagging for our ground teams that actually contribute to that mission as well. So we have a lot of missions for the different aspects and desires to give back that different people have.
You bring up disaster relief. I remember flying down to Homestead for Andrew, and we were bringing, pallets of water bottles and things like that down there back then. Yeah, that was very good. And it's also important we should point out that we mention the Air Force a lot, but we're older, right? We are 5 years older than the Air Force, right? Was it 43 to 48, I believe?
41 to 47.
41, 47. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, you guys correct me on the numbers. But just if you're thinking out there that, you're older, no. We predate the Air Force. In fact, I know we don't do it anymore, but during World War II, we actually had CAP pilots dropping bombs on submarines off the coast of South Carolina, something like that.
We're very thankful for that relationship. The oversight that we have for them.
I wasn't one of those.
You weren't?
Okay.
Well, when you speak about that, we've changed what we do a little bit. Back in that day, we were being targets. We were pulling targets in that day for subs and things like that. Today, we do a different one. Now we're the intercept mission. So we're still applicable in how we serve the Air Force and what we do there. And again, I'm very thankful for our partnership with them and the missions they give us that are meaningful missions that we get to contribute to.
I'd love being a part of it. I thought it led me actually into working for the Air Force, like I said, at Maxwell. So that was a great exposure. Civil Air Patrol, it now is actually part of the Air Force, right?
Yes. We're the auxiliary, yes.
The auxiliary of it.
But before, it was more separate than it is now.
That's right.
I understand that if you're a CAP member, you're actually part of the Air Force.
We're part of the total force, is what we call it. Yes.
Actually, what was the rumor I heard that Space Force was going to take over for us? Was that just a rumor?
That seems like that's more of a rumor. There's nothing been done there.
Okay.
Yeah. But we like coordinating with the Air Force and part of the greater force, right?
I knew we were going to have a lot to talk about today, and we've actually come up against the time barrier. We only got about 30 seconds left. So is there anything you want to throw out real quick before we have to sum up?
On Panzara?
Well, I want to thank the Florida Aviation Network and everybody here at Sun and Fun for all the effort and the time that you give us to be able to expose our platform and our program to everybody that's watching. Please, again, go look at gocivilairpatrol.com. You can put in your zip code, find your closest squadron. We would love to have you come and be part.
That's great.
Do it. It's worth it.
Yes.
Okay. My name's John Tenney. Thank you for joining us here with General Bailey and Colonel Palmer. Panzara.
No worries.
That's right. I have namnesia. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We'll be on again after a short break.